Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. This is episode number 35 of season 2026, and today we're taking a look at round 12. We'll be wrapping it up, going through all 7 matches that happened over the weekend. We'll also have our Brownlow and MVP update, leaderboard updates, and we'll finish with how our tips went on the weekend. So that's everything coming up in this episode. There was 4 teams having a bye this weekend, so just the 7 matches to go through. If you're new around here, we do 2 podcast episodes every single week. One previewing the upcoming action, which goes live every Thursday morning, and one wrapping up the weekend's football, which goes live every Monday, sometime on Monday. Depending on what time the football finishes on the Sunday. Obviously, next week's episode on Monday will definitely be a late Monday, with there being a King's birthday game on Monday. So, let's jump into the action for this episode. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button, depending on your preferred platform for podcasts. Let's jump into it and see what we found out on the weekend. We kicked off on Thursday night with St Kilda, Hawthorn, Marvel Stadium, and the Hawks dominated it. End up winning it by 52 points, and most of that damage, or almost all of that damage, was done in the first half. It was 50-point margin at half-time. St Kilda didn't kick a goal in the first half. 0-5 to 8-7 at half-time. Second half kind of dwindled down into a bit of a lackluster affair, I think, but overall Hawthorn just controlled this game and did everything they needed to across the board. As I said, the damage was done in the first half. Yes, St Kilda wasted a lot of opportunities in this one, but did they ever look like a chance? No, they did not. Pretty much wraps it up. Everything you need to know there. Let's jump into some team stats, as we always do around here. We run through the important stuff. A lot of the numbers not too dissimilar. Possession numbers certainly not too far apart. Kicks at least. Handballs, Hawthorn did handball it a fair bit more. They were certainly a lot better with the ball. They went at an 80% disposal efficiency, whereas St Kilda, were down at about 75. So that's a big difference right there. Inside 50s was plus 12 for Hawthorn, and ball time in forward half was 52% for Hawthorn. So a little bit of a discrepancy there. Contested football, St Kilda actually won across the length of the game, plus 17. Intercept possessions is always an interesting stat here, even though St Kilda went at a lot lower disposal efficiency. Intercept possession, St Kilda actually got plus 2 there, so not too bad. We'll get into the scoring from those shortly, and that will tell a very, very different story. And then in the stoppages game, it was controlled by neither team in stoppage clearances, but the centre clearances, Hawthorn definitely did do better, 15 to 10, and outscored them as well. When we look at scoring, shots at goal, only plus 6 shots for Hawthorn, so 31 to 25. Tells you that this margin maybe was a little bit exaggerated on what it could have been. For people that play the expected score stats, they can mean stuff. It can also not. Like in this case, a lot of St Kilda's work was done in the second half when the game was already over, but expected score had this a lot closer, within a couple kicks. So make of that what you will. I think Hawthorn were definitely the better team, and I don't know if they were 52 points better, but I mean, kicking a goal and creating opportunities and executing your opportunities is part of the game. So read into that how you like. Actual score sources, 2 goals to 1 from kick-in favour of Hawthorn. Stoppage scoring wasn't too high. As we said, it was one clearance difference between the two teams, 32 to 31 in favour of Hawthorn. Scoring from stoppages was 33 to 24 in favour of Hawthorn. But turnover scoring is where Hawthorn dominated this game. Key thing to take from this game, I think, is just how much Hawthorn dominated this area. We mentioned that they had 2 less intercepts than St Kilda, but they actually turned it into 40 odd points better. So 74 to 35 in terms of scoring from turnover is a massive difference, especially when you have less intercepts than the opposition. So very successful day on the turnover front from the Hawks. Score origin, a lot of the work was done from the back half for the Hawks. They transitioned the ball really well, certainly from the back half. The numbers weren't huge from defensive 50 to scoring, but defensive half to scoring was quite good, well above average there. So they did well, 58 to 26 from defensive half, forward half 42 to 26, and they also outscored them from the centre bounce 19 to 15. So just a well-rounded, controlled game by the Hawks. Brownlow votes for this one. We've gone Nick Watson 3 votes. I think he deserves it, in my opinion. It's a pretty open game that a lot of players could get votes, if I'm being completely honest. But he had 21 touches, 2 goals, 2 goal assists. We know what he does. He's a very good player. James Sicily, we've given 2 votes, 33 disposals, doing what James Sicily does best, down back. And Jack Gunston barely played in the second half, if at all, but absolutely tore the game to shreds in that first half. He did play in the second half for a little bit, but not much. Kicked 5 goals too from 10 disposals. He just continues to dominate. It's every game he's played this year, except for the game against Collingwood, that he's just been dominating. So another really good performance from him. So they get the 3 players I've given Brownlow votes to in this one. In terms of highest rated player, if you're new around here, we do rate every single player, every single game, based on 30 different stats. And in this one, Cal Wilkie was the highest rated player on the ground, but also the highest rated St Kilda player, which you might find surprising, seeing he was matched up on Gunston for a fair chunk. But obviously, as we said, Gunston did not play a full game, whereas Wilkie did. After him, it's Darcy Wilson. Jack Silvani, who got swung up forward in the second half after starting as a key backman, ended up kicking 3 goals, 3, and definitely should have had at least 1 more of those. Wasted 1 easy opportunity. Probably should have kicked 5 in the second half. Max Hall has had a good season. Another good game there. And Jack Sinclair had plenty of the football in this one. He was their 5th highest rated player. For the Hawks, James Sicily on top. He's having a great season, just ahead of Nick Watson. Jai Newcomb, one of his better games of the year. Blake Hardwick had a massive last quarter, kicked 4 goals. And Mr. Marble or Chol kicked 2 goals, 10 touches, 3 goal assists, and ends up the 5th highest rated player, just ahead of Jack Gunston, who was 6th, who obviously missed a fair chunk of this game. Hawthorn sit 3rd on the ladder. They're loving life right now. 8 wins, 3 losses and a draw. They've won back-to-back weeks. They've got the Doggies for the 2nd time this year coming up next. St Kilda, 5 wins, 7 losses, 12th on the ladder. Back-to-back losses for them. They now have Sydney, who are absolutely flying at the moment. So that will be a tough matchup for the Saints. It is in Melbourne, though, I believe. So that does make it a little bit easier. But, yeah, certainly not an easy one to come up with when you've lost 3 of your last 4. Let's jump into the next game, which was Friday Night Football. And maybe one of the biggest upsets of the year, even though the Blues do have a really good record against the Cats. They just did it again. They win it by 4 points, 12-16, 88 to 12-12, 84. Topsy-turvy game that could have gone either way, and late in that 4th, it looked like it was going the way of the Cats. First quarter, Cats led the way. They led all the way till just after half-time. Carlton hit the front. And then most of the second half, Carlton led. Then, obviously, as I said, Jack Henry kicked his 2nd goal late in that one with about 2.5 minutes to go in the game to put Geelong back in front. But Paddy Cripps, what a contested grab. Rose when he needed to. 20 metres out in front of goal over Jeremy Cameron, took the mark, went back, kicked the goal. And the Baggers win by 4 points for 3 wins on the trot, and a really good opportunity for 4 on the trot this weekend. Team stats in this one. What do we need to go through? What do we need to know about this one? Pretty close game, obviously. I feel like Carlton probably deserved the win, in all honesty. They had about 40 extra disposals. Their efficiency with the ball was not fantastic, to be completely honest. They did have 6 less inside 50s. Ball in forward half was slightly more to Geelong, but only ever so slightly. Intercepts was pretty level, +1 for Geelong. Contested football, +13 for Carlton, which is how they play their best footy. When it's a high contest game, they certainly look better than they do when it's a more uncontested football game. Clearance numbers, +13 for Carlton was a huge difference, +10 in the stoppage clearance game. Shots at goal was 30 for Carlton, 25 for Geelong, so they did create 5 extra shots. Didn't make use of those at all times, but in the end did enough to win the game. Geelong kicked the only goal from a kick-in from stoppage. It was +11 for the Blues, so +13 clearances for +11 scores, or scoring points. So not a massive game where they made use of their clearances, but they did still outscore them just. And turnover was 1 point in it, +1 to Geelong. Defensive half, neither team scored much from the defensive half, well below the averages there. But Geelong did it better, +19. And then from the forward half is where the Blues did a little bit of their work, +5. Centre bounce is the Carlton DNA, and it was here. They only were +3 centre clearances for the game, but scored 3 extra goals. 4 goals, 1 to 1-1. 5 scores from 13 centre clearances is a really good effort from Carlton. Made use of those opportunities, and in the end they go and win this game of football. So shout out the Baggers. In terms of players, Brownlow votes, we've gone Paddy Cripps 3 votes. He did what Paddy Cripps has done a lot of this year. Heavy contested game, really good clearance game, 30 touches, kicked the game-winning goal. He was huge. Bailey Smith, we've given the 2 votes to, 35 touches. He was Geelong's best, 2 goal assists. And Sam Walsh gets the 1 vote, 30 touches, 7 clearances. Could have been best on ground if he had made use of his shots at goal. Kicked 0 goals, 3. Speaking of Sam Walsh, he was the Blues' highest rated player on the ground. Mostly like an evenly consistent game across a lot of the Blues. Why there isn't any standout players here, but a really good team performance, I think, is the story of this one. But Sam Walsh on top, just ahead of Paddy Cripps. And then it's Jagger Smith, who's put together some really good weeks over the last few as he's getting back to high midfield minutes, which he wasn't always getting while Vossi was in charge. But he had 27 touches here, 6 clearances and a goal assist. Lockie Cohen, he was huge down back, so well done him. And Will Hayward's starting to really progress as well. He had 17 touches, 3 goals. Not a massive season from him last year. Wasn't a great start to his year this year, but his last few weeks have been a lot more consistent. For the Cats, it's Bailey Smith on top. As we said, 34 touches. He was huge. Ollie Dempsey kicked 2 goals from 18 touches. Should have been 3 goals. Jeremy Cameron, he was good. 4 goals, 3. Once again, another player that could have had more impact if didn't waste quite so many opportunities. Sean Manor, 17 touches and a goal. And Jack Henry, who went forward in this one, as he has over recent weeks. He did kick 2 goals and was the Cats' 5th highest rated player. Carlton, 3 wins on the trot, 4 wins for the season, 14th on the ladder, 4 wins, 8 losses. They have the Bombers this week. That is huge game and a huge opportunity for them to get themselves back in contention. They're currently 2 games outside the top 10. A really good opportunity to start pegging that back. They've still got a long way to go, but they're playing some okay football, so we can't completely write them off just yet. Cats, on the other hand, they're at the other end of the table, 4th on the ladder, 8 wins, 4 losses. They were in some fine form up until this week. Adelaide this week is a tough game, big game for both clubs. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out, who comes out on top of that one, because it won't be an easy game either way. That's Thursday night at Adelaide Oval. The Cats obviously have played some big games over recent weeks and did well up until this Carlton one, so I would expect them to bounce back, but it's not going to be an easy game. Moving into Saturday football, and we had the biggest domination of the weekend. It was Sydney, it was the Tigers, and the Swans get home by 114 points, 25 goals, 20, 170 to 8, 56. Looked like it might have been even bigger at certain points of this game. It was very free-flowing. 7 goals to 4 in the first quarter. It was out 15 goals to 7 by half-time, so 97 to 46. Richmond couldn't score in the second half, but thankfully Sydney didn't quite score as much in the second half either. They did kick 7 goals in the third, but just 3 goals in the last. 114-point domination. One of the biggest dominations we've had this year, maybe only second to the Sydney Swans' previous big shellacking of an opposition when they won by over 100 points about 5 weeks ago. We'll do team stats first. Obviously, individual stats is just one-way traffic in terms of who was good. Every stat's pretty much massively in favour of Sydney, let's be honest. Over 100 disposals more. Disposal efficiency was better. Inside 50s plus 26. Time in forward half was over 60% time for Sydney, one of the biggest contrasts in teams this year. High contested football game, 151 to 133. Intercepts plus 15 for Sydney. Clearances plus 2 for Sydney, plus 2 centre clearances. So they didn't do it out of the middle, but they certainly controlled everything outside of that. Shots at goal, 46 to 18. 46 shots in a game is huge. Real big domination. Score sources, 1 goal from kick-in for Sydney, and then stoppage was 55 to 27, but it was the turnover game. 107 to 29. That's massive numbers. So 74 intercept possessions turned into 107 points for the Swans. Defensive half, 56 to 3, so Richmond didn't get a goal from the back half all game. Forward half was 91 to 41, so another plus 50 margin there. And centre bounce was 3 goals 5, so that's where their inaccuracy was to 2 goals straight. Just a flat-out domination. Brownlow votes, I think these are the obvious 3 that should get Brownlow votes. Heaney, I've given the 3 to, and then 2 to Curnow and 1 to Chad Warner. They were the 3 best players, in my opinion, and most likely should be the 3 Brownlow vote getters, I think. Tom McCartan probably was in the top 4 players and with Chad Warner, but I mean, when do you see a defensive key defender get votes? Not too often, especially when Chad Warner was getting 3 goals and 32 touches. So Isaac Heaney, highest rated player on the ground, might be the highest rated performance of the year in our rating system. I should have checked that. Huge game from him. Absolutely massive. 32 touches, 5 goals. I think he had 21 touches, 3 goals at half time. Also 2 goal assists, 5 clearances. He is now also the highest rated player in the AFL so far this season, just using this season's games. Jumped a couple players this week. Huge game from him. Charlie Curnow's next up. No, he's not. Tom McCartan's first. I lied, sorry. Tom McCartan, 26 touches. Most of his work, obviously, backline player. Defensive work, intercepts, 10 intercepts. He also had 10 score involvements, which is huge for a defender, and a really good performance there. Then it's Charlie Curnow, who kicks 8 goals, 6 of them in the first half, 18 touches. Really good game. Chad Warner, we said, 32 touches, 3 goals, 5 clearances. And Nick Blakey continues his fine season, 28 touches here. you could go through the whole Sydney team. Rowbottom rated really high for his defensive work, 7 tackles, 15 touches, 3 goal assists. Hayden McLean kicked 4, Logan McDonald kicked 2. You can just go down the Sydney team here, and they had a lot of good players. No Brodie Grundy in the ruck, but Peter Ladhams did most of that work. 24 touches, a goal, 28 hit-outs, 9 clearances. It was just an absolute one-way show, this one. For the Tigers, their top 5 rated players, Jacob Hopper, 25 touches, 5 clearances. Jack Ross, 18 touches, 4 clearances, 7 tackles. Tim Taranto, 24 touches, 3 clearances. But they were all just dominated. Broad was down back, did okay. Tyler Sonsei was their 5th highest rated player with 16 touches and a goal. So, Sydney sits second on the ladder after round 12. 10 wins, 2 losses. They're flying. They have St Kilda next in a really big game for the Saints. Sydney clearly look in the top 2 teams right now. They're 1 game behind Fremantle. They're, 1.5 games ahead of 3rd place. So pretty comfortable at the moment. Life up in Sydney for the Swans. Richmond, they're 17th on the ladder. Their percentage is getting worse. They're 2 wins, 10 losses. They are 1 game ahead of the bottom of the ladder, but their percentage is shocking. So we'll see where that shapes them up, I guess. They've got the bye now, so they can reset a little bit. But based on what we saw this weekend, I don't think there's too many more wins left in their season, but we'll see. They obviously won the week before against the Bombers, but I don't know if that's a massive selling point on your season being good right now. Next game. Saturday afternoon, we had Brisbane Fremantle and the Dockers head up to the Gabba and get the win. Comfortably in the end, thanks to some poor kicking in front of goal from Brisbane. 15-13, 103 to 10-18, 78. The Dockers win by 25, and their season continues to roll on. They are flying. There's no doubt about it. They pretty much led this from start to finish. They never really looked like losing. It was always within 3 or so goals until late in the 3rd when Fremantle kicked away. They got out by about 50 points or close to. They were 40 points up at 3/4 time. Brisbane did bring it back a little bit in that last quarter. They kicked, 4 goals, 5 in the last quarter, so it could have been even more damage done in bringing that margin back. But in the end of the day, Fremantle were just too good. Controlled the game, controlled the match, and won the points. Team stats in of this one. Football was definitely in Fremantle's hands. It was a low possession game, really. Brisbane didn't even crack 300 disposals for the game. They had terrible disposal efficiency as well, 69.5%, whereas Fremantle went at 78%. That's a huge difference. Inside 50s, Brisbane had plus 12. Make that make sense. And the ball in their forward half more than half of the game. But they just couldn't do anything with it. We'll get to some more interesting stuff as we go through this game because it's a weird one. Intercept possessions plus 8 for the Dockers. And clearances was plus 11 for Brisbane. So they were getting their hands on the ball first really well. Dominated the clearance game, but just couldn't convert it into opportunities, whether it was turning the ball over or it was just making a meal of it in front of goals. They had 1 extra shot, 30 shots for the game, Brisbane, for 10 goals. Fremantle, on the other hand, 29 shots for 15 goals. Really good efficiency, and that's the difference, really. Expected score players, Fremantle was still the winner, even with the 1 less shot, because they were creating better opportunities. But Brisbane just, I don't know what to say about them. They're just too wasteful. Their midfield's getting smacked at the moment as well, which isn't helping, but they've still created 30 shots in a game of football and only kicked 10 goals. That's their number 1 issue from this game, in my opinion. Scoring from stoppages was pretty even, plus 3 points for the Dockers. But the turnover game, as we said, plus 19, 55 to 34. But poor kicking, 4 goals, 10 from the Lions. Defensive half was all the Dockers, 52 to 28. Forward half was all Brisbane, 42 to 32. Centre bounce scoring was 3 goals to 1 in favour of Fremantle. Brownlow votes were gone. This is a tough one in terms of who to give the votes to. We've got Matthew Johnson, a sneaky chance. 20 touches, 1 goal, 6 clearances. Well played him. Jaya miskicked 4 goals, 4 from 15 touches, gets 2 votes. And Zach Bailey, I think, was clearly Brisbane's best player. He had 30 touches, 1 goal, 2, 6 clearances, and a goal assist. In my opinion, he was their best. Talking of top 5 rated players for each team, Zach Bailey on top for the Lions. Then Darcy Wilmot, who had a lot of it down back, 12 marks, 26 touches. Harris Andrews, another defender, which tells you a story about Brisbane in this one. Josh Dunkley, 4th highest, just 16 touches. And Will Ashcroft, 5th best for the Lions. He had 2 goals from 22 touches, 3 clearances. Could be in the conversation for a Brownlow vote, but I don't think he was as good as Zach Bailey, and I mean the Dockers did win the game of football. Speaking of Fremantle, their 5 highest rated players. Josh Tracy again. How good has he been this season? 16 touches, 3 goals. Andrew Brayshaw 2nd with 24 touches, 2 goal assists. Carl Warner, he's also having a good year. I mean, who at the Freo land is not having a good year this year? He had 18 touches, really good with the ball, 470 metres gained. Jaya Miss with his 4 goals, 4, could have had a huge game. Sam Swiatkowski was next with 16 touches and a goal. Unlucky shout out to Paddy Voss, who, if he had a kick straight, would have probably been up there. He had 4 goals, 3 from 13 touches. So the tools for Fremantle. 4 to Voss and a miss, and 3 to Tracy. 11 goals between them. Huge performance there for the Dockers. Interesting stat from this game, just a random little one. Only one player on this whole ground did not take a mark in this game, and it was the tallest player out there in Mason Cox. Not saying anything with that story, it's just a random little stat from the game. Dockers, game clear on top. They're flying. Life's good. 11 wins, 1 loss. North Melbourne next. Big game. North coming off the bye. Fremantle heading back, not exactly home, but back to WA to play this one. So that shall be an interesting game, and one that you'd think Fremantle should be winning. Brisbane, what's going on with them? They're 9th on the ladder, 6 wins, 6 losses. They've lost 3 in a row. They have Gold Coast next. They need to get things going. They need to kick straight in front of goal. They need their midfielders to get back on top of opposition, and they just need to find a way to win some games of football. Alrighty, next up, we head to Saturday Night Football, and it was an absolute classic. It's the Bulldogs getting over the line by 4 points over Collingwood, 14-13, 97 to 13-15, 93. The Bulldogs, after a slow few weeks, have put their form back together. They led almost start to finish in this one, and looked the win most of the way, out by over 4 goals in the second quarter, again in the third quarter a couple times. But a couple late ones in the third for Collingwood, or 1 late one in the third, and then 2 really early ones in the fourth. Had them right back in the game, and then still looked a chance when Angie Anderson kicked his second midway through the fourth. Then Will Lewis got one for the Doggies, and then Tim Membry got one for the Pies to get them back to 4 points. They went forward to try and win the game late, but in the end could not do it, as the Doggies held on thanks to a really strong mark. Second massive contested mark late in a game for the weekend. One offensive through Paddy Cripps, and this one through Michael Selwood taking a huge mark and getting the Doggies home. Just cracking game, interesting game in many ways. Let's have a look at some of the team stats in this one and how the game played out on a Saturday night. As we said, the Bulldogs led most of the way. Possession numbers were massively in favour of Collingwood, though, plus 60 odd possessions. Disposal efficiency was slightly in favour of the Bulldogs. Meters gained, slightly in favour of the Bulldogs as well. Inside 50s, plus 15 for the Bulldogs. That's kind of on par for Collingwood these days. They tend to be a team that don't worry about their giving up a lot of inside 50s because they trust their defence. Didn't quite work out for them here, but that does tend to be how they play. Contested football went slightly the way of the Bulldogs. Pardon me. Intercepts the way of Collingwood, plus 9. Clearance game, plus 6 for the Bulldogs, plus 9 from centre clearances. Keep that in mind. Big number, but scoring from centre clearances we'll come back to in a minute. Just remember, though, plus 9 for Bulldogs, centre clearances. Shots at goal, 29 apiece. Tells you that both teams had their chances. 29 shots for 14 goals for the Dogs, 29 for 13 for Collingwood. Kick-in scoring, both teams, 2 goals, 1. Stoppage scoring, Collingwood, 40. Bulldogs, 29. What did we just see? Bulldogs won clearances, Collingwood won scoring from clearances. Wait a second. Turnover scoring, Bulldogs 55, Collingwood 40. Collingwood had a lot more intercepts in this game, had a lot less scoring from intercepts. Make it make sense. Collingwood did kick very poorly from intercepts, so from turnovers, 5 goals, 10. Scoring from defensive half, Bulldogs won that plus 16. Scoring from forward half, Bulldogs won that by 3 points. Centre bounce scoring. Centre clearances plus 9 for the Bulldogs. Centre bounce scoring 19-4 in favour of Collingwood. That's crazy that the Bulldogs did not score a goal from their 19 centre clearances. Meanwhile, Collingwood got 3 goals, 1 from their 10 centre clearances. So just some fascinating stats, some interesting stats in this one. Both teams probably have an argument to say that they deserve this win, but in the end, the Doggies class prevailed. Ed Richards stood up in that final quarter. He was huge in the final quarter. Best on ground in that quarter. And, just big game from him and from the Doggies to get over the line in the end. Team stats, individual stats, sorry. Brownlow votes were going Jordan De Goey in this one for 3. He was massive. I will find it hard to see the umpires not giving him 3. In all honesty, he had 19 score involvements. Nobody else on the ground had double figures. 19 score involvements. And he had 28 as a team, and he had was in 19 of them. That's crazy numbers. Like 30 touches, 19 score involvements. Unreal. Anyway, 2 votes I've gone Ed Richards. I think he was clearly Brisbane's Bulldogs' best player. Most important player, 24 touches, 2 goals, 4 clearances, was huge in the final quarter. Riley Sanders is where we're going for 1 vote, 28 touches, 3 clearances. I think De Goey, Ed Richards both should definitely get votes, and in my opinion, should be 3-2 in that order. But 1 vote could go to a whole range of players. Nick Dacos had 37 touches, a goal, 5 clearances. He'll be in that conversation. Pendlebury had 33 touches, 6 clearances. Kennedy had 29 touches. Bontempelli, 22 touches and a goal with 9 clearances. So all these players are definitely going to be in that conversation. I've gone with Riley Sanders, though. 3 goal assists, 28 touches. He was good. He was good. Talking of highest rated players, Bulldogs first. Ed Richards leads the way, as we said, for the Dogs. He was great. Huge final quarter. Bontempelli second, just behind Ed Richards. Then Riley Sanders, who's put together a massive, probably 6-week block, 6-7-week block. Bailey Dale, 4th up, 27 touches. He was good. Tim English came back into the team and was solid in the ruck. On the other side of the fence, Jordan De Goey. His highest rated game that we've got in our stat sheet right now, going back to 2024. Huge. Huge numbers. 30 touches of goal, 19 score involvements. Jeremy Howe, down back, had plenty of it, 22 touches. Scott Pendlebury was next. Then Nick Dacos with his 37 touches and a goal. And Dan Houston, who is having a good season, 23 touches in this one. Going forward, Bulldogs, they jump into 7th. 7 wins, 5 losses. Back-to-back wins. They now go up against third place Hawthorn next. That's a tough game. If they can get over the line in that one, that would be huge for the context of their season. Because they need it. There's no doubt about it. Somehow they're already playing Hawthorn for the second time this season. It's only round 13. They met them in round 5. That was Adelaide Oval during gather round, and the Hawks absolutely smacked them. But this is a different Bulldogs team than played that day. Tim English back in the team is certainly going to help. We'll see how it shapes up, but Hawthorn did smack them last time they met. Collingwood, they're just outside the top 10 now with this one. They're 11th on the ladder, 5 wins and a draw from their 12 games. 3 losses in 4 weeks is not great reading. 2 of those by less than a kick, though. 6 points to Sydney 3 weeks ago. 4 points here to the Bulldogs. They need to start winning some of these close ones. They have Melbourne on the King's birthday. Big freeze game on Monday. Make sure you support that one for a very worthy cause. Yeah, so that's that game. We'll move into Sunday football. There was only 2 games, but we kicked off Alice Springs. First game in Alice Springs. Only game in Alice Springs this year, I believe. Obviously, Melbourne play 1 game there every year. And just like the last couple of years over there, they've lost again. They get smacked by the Giants by 49 points in one of the weirder games of football you'll see. 9-16-70 for the Demons. 19-5, 119 for the Giants. 49-point winners. One team kicks very well in front of goal. The other team does not. As is usually the case when that happens, the team that kicks straight wins the game of football. They led most of the way. They were pretty comfortable. Only 12 points at half time. Out to 27 at 3/4 time. Ends up winning by 49 points. Giants too strong on the day. What can we read from the team stats in this one? The Giants had a lot of the football plus 80 disposals. They were really good with the ball. 80% disposal efficiency is really quite high. Certainly when Melbourne got 71%. Inside 50s, even though Melbourne had, 80 less disposals, had an extra 16 inside 50s and had the ball in their forward half for 59% of the time. Giants are quite happy with that, though, because they can play the tsunami game. They can rebound, they can run, they can carry, and that's what they did. And they were successful at it. Contested football, the way of Melbourne. Marks was massively in favour of the Giants. They looked after the football when they needed to. They made use of their opportunities when they also got the chance to go faster. Clearance game, +8 for the Demons. Centre clearances, +9 for the Demons. Shots at goal, 9 goals to 19. Both teams had 25 shots. 25 shots for 19 goals is ridiculously high from the Giants. Well done to them for that. 25 shots at goal for 9 goals for the Demons is ridiculously poor. No shout out to the Demons for that. Expected score still had Giants winning because they did create better opportunities. But, just worth noting, Demons had their shots. They had their chances. They did not take them. Yes, the Giants were hugely successful in front of goal in this one. But the Demons just wasted opportunities, really. Scoring. Stoppage, 44-20 for the Giants. And from turnover was 74-49. So there was quite a lot of scoring from turnover in this game. From the back half, it was 52-31 in favour of the Giants. 48-35 from the forward half. And from the centre bounce was 19-4. Weirdly enough, the Giants' transition numbers were actually below their usual, whereas Melbourne were well above their numbers and AFL averages. They were huge in this game in terms of transition. ability to go D50 to forward 50, really high numbers. They just weren't able to kick goals from it, is the Demons' biggest issue here. So don't write them off. It's not the end of the world. They obviously have played very well at the MCG this year. They get to head back to the MCG this week, so I fully expect them to bounce back. But the number one priority from this game just has to be taking your opportunities, because they certainly didn't in this game. Brownlow votes in this one. We're going Finn Callaghan 3. For the Giants, he was huge. Clayton Oliver 2. And for the Saints, Jack Steele with 1 vote. Highest rated players for the Demons, Max Gawn up top. 22 touches, 30 hit-outs, 4 clearances. Thorthorpe is their second highest rated player in our system. 17 touches. Then it's Jack Steele, who had plenty of the football in this one. Getting, what did he have? Sorry, 25 touches and a goal. Harrison Petty is next, and then it is Ed Langdon in 5th. For the Giants, who were clearly, I think, the deserved winners. They took their opportunities. Harvey Thomas, highest rated player, 24 touches, 2 goals. He's had a good couple of weeks. Toby Green up forward, good again, 16 touches, 3 goals, 2. Finn Callaghan, huge in the first half, 31 touches, 2 goals. He really set the tone for the Giants in this one. Kieran Briggs in the ruck had 9 touches, 18 hit-outs, 4 clearances. Outrated by Max Gawn, but he was solid. And then Toby Bedford's put together a couple good weeks as well. He is their 5th highest rated player with 16 touches, 2 goals. Next week, the Demons head back to the MCG for Collingwood. That will be a massive game for both teams. The loser really starting to look in trouble. The winner back in form. The Giants, they are getting themselves back into form. They've won 3 of the last 4, and they have the bye this week. Last 2 weeks have been huge, beating Brisbane and Melbourne. They get the bye. They get a chance to reset their season and really get themselves going. 6 wins, 6 losses. All of a sudden, dare I say it, things are looking okay in Giant land. So, yeah, good on them. Final game of the weekend, it was Sunday night football over in the West for WA Day. West Coast in their WA Day kit. The black looks good. We like it. We rate it. Essendon in red, I do not rate though. Just going to put it out there. They obviously had to wear red because they had to wear Clash. I just don't like the red. Yeah, anyway, that's my opinion. West Coast win it, 12-13-85. Essendon 8-7-55. She was windy, she was wild, and the Eagles were too strong. It was pretty close late in the second, but the Eagles kicked away with the last few goals of that second quarter to lead by 20 points at half-time. They were out by 41 points at three-quarter time, end up winning by 32. Good in the end, the Eagles here. Team stats, important things to take from this one. Disposal numbers, pretty even, just in favour of the Eagles. Inside 50s plus 15 for the Eagles. They also had the ball in their forward 50 for more than 56% of the game, which is huge numbers for them. That's just something they never do. Intercepts plus 21 for the Eagles. It was wild weather, but they just looked after the football and they forced Essendon into turnovers, who just couldn't hit a target for the life of them for most of this game. Like, they've had 81 turnovers from 370 disposals. It's not great numbers, is it? Clearances went the way of the Bombers. They got their hands on the ball first a lot in this game, but they just kept turning it over. Total shots on goal, 29 West Coast, 21 for the Bombers. So West Coast definitely made better use of their opportunities than what West Coast did, but I think they were still the much better team. Kick-ins, 1 goal apiece. Stoppage, 4 goals apiece. Turnover, 7 goals to 3. There's your difference right there. 53 to 23 from turnover. Could have been worse too. 7 goals, 11 for West Coast from turnover. Defensive half, 35-17 in favour of the Eagles. Forward half, 43-38. And crazy number here. Centre bounce, 1-0. Just 1 goal from the centre bounce for the game. 22 centre clearances, 13-9 in favour of the Bombers. But just 1 goal. That went the way of the Eagles. Brownlow votes. Tough one. We had to think long and hard about the Brownlow votes in this one. In the end, we went with Tom McCarthy for the Eagles. 26 touches and a goal with 2 clearances. Probably his best game of the season, if I'm being completely honest. Murdoch, second, 2 votes. 19 touches, 3 goals. Huge game. He's been fantastic this season. What a pickup he has been. And Hartley Reid, we're going with 1 vote. 24 touches, 1 goal, 4. Could have had a belter and 4 clearances. Unlucky players. Ginby, probably best on ground in my actual opinion. Umpires don't give key defenders votes too often. Zach Merritt had 28 touches. Setterfield, 26. Tim Kelly, 28. Dersma, 25 and a goal was good. Plenty of opportunities, plenty of players that could get votes. That's the way we've put it, though. Highest rated players, as we said, Ruben Ginby, best on ground. Massive game from him down back. Well done to him. Tom McCarthy, second highest. Then it's Marlon Murdoch, third. And then it's some Essendon player, well, one Essendon player, fourth. But Harley Reid, fourth best for the Eagles. Then Tim Kelly, fifth. Massive game from the Eagles. Well done. Win number 4 of the season after only 1 win last year. Massive performance. Essendon, things are bad. Cole Langford was their highest rated player in this one, 21 touches. Ben Mackay went forward, kicked a goal, ends up their second highest rated player. Also was their second ruckman in a different role for him. Zaki Merritt, 28 touches and a goal, was their third. Nate Caddy took some opportunities late in this game, fourth. And Archie Roberts, who was well held by Murdoch throughout this game, but still ends up their fifth highest rated player. Sorry if I just smacked you guys. But yeah, one of Murdoch's, and just another one successful defensive forward tag, but also kicks goals. Had Josh Dacos last week, won that one. The week before he was on, someone remind me, it was the Giants, Whitfield, successful role that day. He's just doing his role and successfully playing a massive role in this West Coast Eagles team. So well done on picking him up, and also just see him for a fantastic start to his AFL career. So that's all 7 games from the weekend. Before we roll on, West Coast next week have Port Adelaide coming out of the bye. Could they win 3 out of 4? They obviously can. I've beat them before, so this season. And the Bombers, they wish they were having the bye. They have Carlton this week, who are on a 3-game winning streak. It would be a very Bomber thing to do to win this game, but I just don't see it happening based on what we've seen from them in recent weeks. Moving on in this episode, our Brownlow leaderboard after round 12 sits as such. A reminder, we do Brownlow votes for every game. It's not necessarily who we think was the best player in the game. It's who we think the umpires will vote for. And after round 12, it's Nick Dacos still in front on 21. Bailey Smith right behind him on 19 after a 2-vote game. Speaking of moving up the leaderboard, Paddy Cripps jumps into third with 3 votes this week, 18 votes on the season. Port Adelaide had the bye this week, so Zach Butter stays on 17 in fourth. Then it's Lockie Neal and Clayton Oliver in equal fifth with 16 votes. Bontempelli 7th with 15. The Sheaves, Harry Sheasel with 14 in 8th. Two-way tie for 9th, Luke Davies-Yanaki and the Heaney, Isaac Heaney on 13. And then tie for 11th is Bolton, Newcomb and Wangani Malira, all on 12th. That's how it sits with us after round 12. Moving on to MVP leaderboard after same round, obviously, round 12. This one, just a little FYI, 5 highest rated players for each team. Every single game gets votes. Winning team get 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 for the top 5 players. Losing team get half of that. Drawn matches, both teams get midpoint of each of those, if that makes sense. After 12 games, Max Gawn and Bontempelli equal first. Bont joins Maxi Gawn up top. Second, or third technically, is Bailey Smith on 66, just ahead of Luke Jackson on 64. Behind that is Cal Wilkie, 59. Brodie Grundy, who did not play this week, 58. Heaney, who did play very well this week, 54. Josh Tracy, the highest rated key forward so far this year, on 52. Ed Richards, 51 after a big game against Collingwood. James Sicily, also big game this weekend against the Saints, 48.5 after round 12. Our tips for the weekend did not go well. Hand up, we had a stinker. We absolutely had a stinker. Hawthorn kicked us off to start the round. Okay. We said 13. They obviously won by a lot more than that, 52 points. But we got it right. We said this was maybe our upset of the weekend, and we didn't go with it. We went Geelong by 17. The Blues won by 4. Sydney, we said by 49. They won by 114 points. Brisbane, 1 point, we said. We didn't know which way to go. We went the wrong way. Fremantle won by 25. We went Collingwood by 9. They lost it by 4. The Demons, we said by 17. They lost by 49. And at this point, 2 out of 6, and things are going bad. Thankfully, the Eagles did get it done for us on Sunday night. We said 12 points. They won by 30. It was a stinker week. 3 out of 7. 71 out of 106 on the year. After last week going really good in the margins, this week was a stinker. But that's okay. We'll bounce back next week. No, there's always another week. Round 13 comes up in just a couple of days. Speaking of, that will be our next episode, previewing all the round 13 action. It will go live Thursday morning at about 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time to preview all 8 matches coming up this weekend. Thursday night, Adelaide Geelong. Friday night, Hawthorn, Bulldogs MCG. Saturday, we got North v Fremantle. Gold Coast v Brisbane, and West Coast v Port Adelaide. Sunday, just the 2 games, Sydney, St Kilda. And then Sunday night is Essendon Carlton. Monday, big freeze game, Collingwood v Melbourne. Massive game. 2 teams have the bye this week, GWS and Richmond. One of them is in shocking form in Richmond. The other one's in good form all of a sudden in the Giants. That is a wrap on this episode. Episode number 35 of season 2026. Make sure you jump in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like this episode. Don't forget to follow or subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back on Thursday with another episode. Go check out all the social medias. And before you leave, also make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have mid-season reviews going live for every team as they get to their bye. So there's already 4 on the channel. 2 more to come next week, this week, and then 4 every week until all 18 clubs are done. So make sure you go check them out. Appreciate you for being here. I'm John. This was the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one.